we'll be discussing about an eukaryotic cell organelle. You can say an important eukaryotic cell organelle. So why is the stress an important? Because the organelle that we are going to discuss here, that is the. So welcome friends to the series of lectures on fundamental biology. So in this series of videos, we are discussing some interesting and important concepts from the chapter The Fundamental Unit of Life based on 9th standard NCERT syllabus. So in this regard, we have already had some discussion in previous videos related to the biology of plasma membrane. So in order to understand the plasma membrane, how it works and how it functions, that is the biology. We have discussed about hypertonic, hypertonic, exosmosis, endosmosis. So if you are curious how these things are related to plasma membrane, so kindly get back to those videos and then enjoy the concepts. And in today's discussion, we'll be discussing about an eukaryotic cell organelle. I can say an important eukaryotic cell organelle. So why is the stress an important? Because this cell organelle play an important role in producing the energy, that is the energy currency of the cell, that is nothing but the adenosine triphosphate. We simply call it as an ATP molecule. So that's the reason why I have addressed that as an important cell organelle. So obviously you would have got the idea, the organelle that we are going to discuss here, that is the mitochondria. Okay, so let's get into the structure of mitochondria and see how simple is the structure. Okay, so mitochondria is basically a structure with a membrane, because you do have some organelle without membrane, but this mitochondria is with membrane. This is going to be the membrane, and with membrane there are two membrane, that is the one in outer and one in inner, right? So I can call this as the outer membrane, and the inner membrane will be thrown into many folds. So the outer membrane will be more or less an uniform structure, but this is thrown into many folds, and these folds are referred as cristae. Okay, these folds are referred as cristae. So this is with respect to the membrane of the mitochondria, right? Now the inner part of the mitochondria is going to have a matrix, that is a sort of a gel-like structure. You call this as a mitochondrial matrix. Call this as a mitochondrial matrix. What are the structure that can be seen in mitochondrial matrix? It is this structure. This is nothing but a double-stranded circular DNA with 70S ribosomes. Okay, so these details are very important, right? It's going to have a double-stranded circular DNA with 70S ribosomes. So these are the structures which are present, and based on the presence of a double-stranded circular DNA and 70S ribosome, you call mitochondria as a semi-autonomous organelle. So what is the meaning of the semi-autonomous organelle? So generally the presence of DNA will give some information, so that the mitochondria will get that information from its own DNA. Otherwise, if in case assume that if this particular DNA is not there, then it has to depend on nuclear DNA which is outside the mitochondria, right? The nature has made in such a way that certain information is obtained from its own DNA, and certain information it has to depend on the nuclear DNA. So it is partially dependent, partially independent, hence the term semi-autonomous organelle. So this is one term for mitochondria, semi-autonomous organelle. So hope you get this point, and everywhere you remember, in case if there is going to be a DNA, it has to be supported by ribosome. So there is no use of having exclusively DNA alone without ribosome and having ribosome alone without DNA. So these sort of concepts will be, you'll have a clarity when you come for higher standards, right? Okay, so this is one thing. Then, what is the function of mitochondria? So that's the next question. What is mitochondria does? Say for example, we all take food whenever we feel hungry. So hungry or is an indication that we are all tired. We lack energy, right? So what happens when you take food? The food enter into the cell, okay, and the food will get converted to energy by a process called as cellular respiration. Hope everyone, okay, will be aware of this concept, right? Cellular respiration. So internal respiration happening inside a cell is what is referred as cellular respiration. So assume that the food is going to be a glucose. So how is this glucose getting converted to energy? There is energy in the form of ATP. ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate. So how is this glucose getting converted to ATP? You have some systematic and detailed chemical reaction. So I am not here to highlight those things, but I want to give an outline that this glucose will basically get converted to 2 molecules of pyruvic acid. So this glucose is going to be a 6 carbon, right? And you have got a 3 carbon of 2 molecule pyruvic acid. This is called as glycolysis. And this glycolysis is going to happen in cytoplasm, and this pyruvic acid, okay, will form a compound called as acetyl CoA, both pyruvic acid, and this acetyl CoA enters in mitochondria. This enters a cycle called as Krebs cycle, Krebs, Krebs cycle, and from Krebs cycle you have a process called as electron transport chain, from where you get ATP. So this is a very simplified flow chart of a cellular respiration, right? Let me summarize again, because you have to know this scheme to understand the importance of mitochondria. So that's the reason why I am giving this scheme, right? Otherwise there is no necessity, here. We take glucose is yielding energy in the form of ATP. Glucose is getting converted to 2 molecules of pyruvic acid. This happens by a process called as glycolysis. Glycolysis is going to happen in cytoplasm, right? The pyruvic acid is getting converted to acetyl CoA in mitochondria, and in mitochondria itself the acetyl CoA enters a cycle called as Krebs cycle, and Krebs cycle, from there the Krebs cycle leads to electron transport chain, ETC, which finally results in the formation of ATP. Hope you get this point. Now, what is the role of mitochondria? See, in this, the Krebs cycle and electron transport chain, okay, everything, okay, there is these are going to be the most of the the internal respiration process is going to happen in the mitochondria, in which the mitochondrial matrix is going to involve in Krebs cycle, whereas the cristae is going to get involved in the electron transport chain. It is where the ATP is going to be produced. Okay, hope you get this point. Okay, Krebs cycle and Krebs cycle linking to electron transport chain. So the requirements for electron transport chain is there in the cristae, and the requirement for Krebs cycle is going to be there in the mitochondrial matrix. So since in mitochondria, it is exclusively in cristae, since the ATPs are produced, mitochondria is called as a powerhouse of the cell. So you have got 2 different names for mitochondria. One is the semi-autonomous organelle, and I have given you the explanation why it is called a semi-autonomous organelle, and other one is going to be the powerhouse of the cell, because it is where the ATP is getting produced, right? So this is the general thing. Apart from this, other reactions such as urea cycle, fatty acid synthesis, okay, beta oxidation of fatty acid, there are other chemical reactions do happen in mitochondrial matrix. See, I can call this mitochondria as a hub of biochemical metabolic reactions. Though metabolic reactions will keep happening in other part of the cell also, but majority of the reactions do happen in mitochondria. So this is the simplified version of mitochondria. Hope the structural and functional aspects of mitochondria are clear. So in case of any doubt, please do mention it in the comment section, and we will meet with another interesting organelle in next video. Okay, thanks for watching.